I know my clock's ticking. I'm looking at that, and you guys, if you're anything like me, you're probably already thinking about lunch. So I'm going to go fast, and I hope that this is practical. Zach, that was a masterclass. Spike, that was incredible. They shared a lot more Bible verses I'm going to. And I'm a Bible guy, just so you know. But this is going to be a lot of like practical stuff. If anything, I hope that encourages maybe some of you who are a church plant. My church, I don't know at what point, Bob, like you stopped saying you're a church plant. We're 4.5 years old. We started with 20 people in the living room. Now we're knocking on the door of 500, and God's doing a really cool work. I do not say that bragging. I joked with Noah, our worship pastor, just a turtle on a fence post. You ever seen a turtle on a fence post? You know he didn't get there by himself. That's it, all right? And so I'm just going to share some things that we have done. And by the way, everything that I'm going to share, I also lead, even at our church, I'm a very transparent guy, just with struggles and, just very vulnerable and that kind of thing. So I'm going to be sharing these things, not that I've mastered this. A lot of this stuff we're even working on and trying to improve as well. So I hope if any of you guys, maybe you're a smaller church plant, I hope that some of these, and these principles obviously apply to even broader, but I hope that some of these things apply to you guys. Because I don't know about y'all, but do any of you guys, Zach, you can't raise your hand for this. Do any of you guys feel like your church right now, you have enough money? Yeah, that's right. You're like Moses, People, stop bringing the tithes and the offerings. We're good. We're good. We actually have enough right now. Do any of y'all feel that way? Because I do not feel that way, and I'm assuming that you most likely don't feel that way. I think all of us wish we had a little bit more, because when you think about more, you think what you can accomplish. You think about the staff that you need to hire, future building projects, and all the things that you would love to be able to do. So when we're talking about this specific theme of giving, tithes, offerings, generosity within our church, and even externally outside of our church, I have really struggled to teach this, especially the first 2 years of our church. I genuinely had this belief, probably poor leadership as a pastor, I'm just being honest here, is that I felt that if I taught it too often or emphasized it too strongly, that people would just leave, especially in the beginning stage of the church. I just thought people would say, oh, he's a prosperity guy. He's just a health wealth guy. He just wants money. And I was so worried to talk about it. And I've gained, as the years have kind of gone on in our church, I really feel like I've gained some more confidence to teach this. So I got 6 points. You'll see them up on the screen. Number one is this: leadership must go first. Some of the stuff that Pastor Zach and Pastor Spike shared, there's going to be a little bit of overlap. But I really do believe that churches are not going to outgive its leaders. So I'm going to make a giant assumption here. I hope that as pastors leading churches, every single one of us, bare minimum, you're at least tithing to your local church, the church that you are also receiving a paycheck from and that you're pastoring. We need to tithe. I think that is just a general baseline. I'm looking at it from pastors and elders, and we monitor those kind of things. We want to make sure that we as leaders, that we're demonstrating a biblical giving, but even sacrificial giving, to even go at times above and beyond. So for example, September 20th, our church is going to do our second Compassion Sunday. If you're unfamiliar with Compassion, they go around the world and they rescue kids out of poverty in Jesus' name. It's a really good organization. Me and my family, we have 3 children that we sponsor right now. And this next one coming up, my wife said, and God's been very generous to us, and my wife said, we need to go ahead as a family, pick another kid, and we need to add another kid. Well, I'm expecting the same thing from some of our people as well, is that if they don't have one, that they're going to get one. And if they have one and they can financially afford to do another one, that they're doing that. We just want our leaders to go first. I think that's really important. And then I think as an organization, what Pastor Spike said is how their church, they give 10% outside. We strive to do the same. So we're kind of in that ballpark of giving to, we support missionaries, church plants. We give 1% to the cooperative program. And by the way, we also support Bob Bumgarner. He did not pay me to say what I'm about to say, but can I just tell y'all right now, supporting First Coast churches, I personally think under his leadership, First Coast Churches, previously known as JBA, Jacksonville Baptist Association, has taken off and has provided great resources. Thank you he really has done a great job. He's a phone call. I don't really know how he manages his calendar. I'm terrible. I'm still learning how to manage my calendar the way he does, because he's still a phone call away, and he's literally, I think for almost all of us, to be able to just access him, and he always is there. So really, if you have extra resources, being able to support First Coast Churches, because it goes to things like this, helping church plants and helping other pastors alongside. Here's a key line. You'll see it up on the screen, is that we cannot expect what we do not exhibit. We cannot expect what we do not exhibit as leaders. Number 2, start with the why, not the what. Don't y'all wish, if you're anything like me, don't you wish you could just say, the Bible tells us give 10%. Period. That's it. So go ahead and start giving your 10%. Don't you wish that that was the case and that money was just flowing in, like I said, with Moses and all of them? And you're like, can y'all believe our budget just skyrocketed? All the pastor did was stand up and say, give your 10%. All right, let's go ahead. We're going to pass the buckets or however y'all do it. We don't pass buckets at our church, but it's in the back. And you guys can go ahead and do your text to give, and we're going to do that. And next thing you know, money's just flowing in. Don't you wish you could do that? Well, I would go on to say that that's the what. But however, I realize that so many people, they really do need the why. And so for us, we want to connect people to the heart of God. This is important right here. So when I'm teaching it and challenging people, I'm trying to connect them to the heart of God. Spike did a really good job teaching about that. We're trying to also connect them to the mission of God. Those are two of the whys when we're telling people to give, because God is a generous giver, because he blesses us. But we also are trying to connect them to the mission of God as well. So things that are happening within our church. I know a lot of the scripture references that you had, I had jotted down. They're on the notes that Pastor Spike gave. But in church plants, and I would go on to say, with the way the First Coast area has grown, what I'm about to say is not just for church plants, okay? But I think it probably applies to almost all of you guys in your even established churches. But specifically in church plants, we get a lot of new believers. We use the language unchurched. Unchurched just means lost, like no biblical framework, all of that. We see a lot of those come to our church. We also see a lot of new believers. Guess what they don't do? They don't give. They just don't, and it really does take some discipleship. I think if I was to go back and start the church over again, one of the things that I really wish I would have done earlier on, I wish I wouldn't have been so timid to talk about money. I really was just really timid to talk about. All I would do is just tell me, hey guys, here's the ways to give, and I would just blow right past it. I didn't connect them to the heart of God. I didn't connect them to the mission of God. I just, for whatever reason, it was just an insecurity that I had. I just really struggled with doing that. If I was to go back and do it over again, I would implement this ground zero, day one, and not apologize for it. Will you offend some? Yes. I mean, some will. But a lot of them, they need to be taught this. And that's what we're currently at our stage. Our budget should be even more than what it is. Right now, we're budgeting for about $830,000 for next year, and that's probably on pace about what we're going to bring in this year. We're a church of almost 500. We really should be even further along. But when we've spiritually polled a lot of the people that we have, we're seeing that a lot of them are brand new to the faith, unchurched, haven't crossed over to faith, and this really needs to be a discipleship thing. I wish that early on, I'm just being honest here, I wish that I would have implemented it more confidently early on with the church and not been so worried that I'm going to offend some and possibly lose some. Number 3, integrate generosity into discipleship, not just the budget, or the budget conversation. I thought that Pastor Zach did a great job of talking about that. I mean, both of them. Some of this stuff, like I said, like especially as the tail end, they've already done a great job teaching all of this. But I personally think we need to move the generosity out of only the financial office into the discipleship pathway. So one of the things that Bob helped me do was kind of like the flywheel. You'll see it on there for the thing, but it's the 4 G's. So it's gather, groups, give, go. Give absolutely does mean money. Like those are the things that we're looking at. It's not just money, it's your time, it's your talents and abilities and all those things. But what we're trying to do is tell people, okay, so how do you develop passionate followers of Jesus who live on mission? Well, hey, we know if you weekly gather for worship, if you get involved in a small group, we know if you give of your time, talent, and your money, and we're challenging in you that, and go live on mission, we know that you're going to develop to be a passionate follower of Jesus who lives on mission. So those are one of the things that he really helped us, and now we have now integrated. It's not that we've already done it. We're integrating this now into our discipleship pathway because we're wanting to see people do this, where it's not just the budget conversation. One of the things that I would do, I would only teach it once a year, like a standalone. I'd teach the giving message once a year. And then I'd be frustrated. I don't know if any of you guys have ever felt this way. Then I was frustrated that the giving didn't go up. I was like, man, I preached that thing, man. It's like, what in the world? Why didn't the budget go up? I didn't understand that. Well, for one, you got to connect it to the heart of God, to the mission of God, but you need to move it more than just, I believe, just one time. So actually this year, Pastor Andrew Hopper. I think Andrew's going to be teaching at some point, but yeah, and Andrew's a mentor of mine. He's a great guy. Mercy Hill Church in Greensboro. He's done some awesome stuff up there, but he told me, he said, let me just encourage you. He said, do an end-of-year offering and then tell the people what that giving is going to. He said, you'll see new givers and you'll see some people start to give more. So the past 2 years, we've started doing a 320 offering. We'll give to missionaries, organizations outside of our church that we support. We will also even say that a portion of that money is going to go toward a need or maybe generally some needs within our church to help us grow and reach more people. And then around the world, I already said kind of missionaries. Over the past 2 years, we have seen absolutely new people, and they started give to that, and then they started to give more regular. And then we also have raised, I think, just shy of $70,000 over the past 2 years. And I'm really wanting to see that 320 offering increase a lot more. And I struggled with it because you guys know it's holiday time, right? I mean, like people are doing holidays and travel and all this stuff. They're buying Christmas gifts. Most people are going to go rack up the credit card and get in debt for it. So I thought, man, an end of year offering is not going to work. I was wrong. Andrew was right. It absolutely does work. And it was shocking to see some of the gifts, even first-time gifts, that would end up coming in there. But this year, I'm strategically doing on November 15th, we're going to kick off our 320 offering, and then I'm going to be doing I've never done this. I'm going to be doing a 3-week series called The Theology of Generosity. Every single week, I'm just going to be teaching what the Bible has to say about tithes and offerings, why we should give first to our church, and then outside of that. So pray for me. We're going to find out how that goes. I'll report back to Bob and let you guys know how that one goes, okay? But I do think also incorporating weekly short little moments, like specifically I'm talking about within the service, that connect giving to the mission and just telling people like what you're giving to is actually making a difference. We also connect it to living on mission. So one of our taglines is live on mission. That's the end of that statement that you'll see, the what. So we develop passionate followers of Jesus who do what? Live on mission. We beat that drum at our church. I say our church is doing a really good job of the outreach piece, inviting that friend. I mean, we're doing a series called For the One. We're always trying to get that one person. But we incorporated live on mission with generosity. So we do that in the sense of telling people, hey, when you're giving, you're living on mission as well. So we try to incorporate those type of the language, the common language that we use at our church. Number 4, cast vision and celebrate impact relentlessly. People give to vision and to transformation. They're not giving to our shortfalls or our shortcoming of budget. What I mean is, if we're getting up just having a budget conversation and then just telling people, we're going to be a little short on the budget this year, so $50,000, we're going to be short. All right, so we need some of you guys to step up. People don't want to give to that. They want to give to vision. They want to give to transformation. They want to see that their money, especially in Zach, I thought did a great job with this, especially the high capacity givers. I have one who's from Texas. He has significantly funded our church and continues year over year. He's a big giver to John Maxwell and a close friend with John Maxwell as well. And one of the things he said he gets hit up all the time for money. And he knows a lot of very wealthy men around the country. And one of the things he said was, we don't want to give to your need. We want to give to something that's actually, we know our money is being stewarded well and it's going to impact. I think the same thing even in our church, those high capacity individuals, they don't want it to a shortcoming. They want to give to know that their money is being stewarded well and is actually making an impact. So something that we do at our church, I would say fairly well. I don't think that we do this great every single week, so fairly well. We try to talk about what God is doing through our church and not just what the church needs from people. We're not just trying to do that. We also try to share specific and concrete stories of impact. So these are lives changed, ministries launched, needs that are met. I thought what Spike said was really good. And what Zach said about big givers, they also want to know, are we helping out people who are in need? So we try to share those stories. And this weekend, our church is actually pretty cool. It's going to be we're having our beach baptism this Sunday, and later on in the afternoon. And it's for us, it's record. It's going to have a record turnout of beach baptism, which is really, really exciting. But starting this Sunday, And then the Sundays after, I will share stories of life change, of talking about, church, because of your generosity, we saw this many people go get baptized at the beach. I'm going to say this Sunday when I stand up, I'm going to tell the church, because of those of you who are sowing into this, we're going to go baptize this many people at the beach today. Church is going to go crazy. They're going to applaud and all of that. And then the following Sundays, I will celebrate those stories. So we use that to also just inspire the people. And what is celebrated is repeated. So we want to show public gratitude. So I'll stand up on stage and I'll thank those who give, and I'll say something like this: thank you. Because of your generosity, we were able to, and then you can fill in the blank. What that does is that inspires those who give. They're making a difference. That their generosity is making a difference. But I want to add something here that I thought was really cool. Pastor Chris Hodges, founding pastor of Church of the Highlands in Alabama, Chris Hodges says, this is more of just a paraphrase. He says, but use this moment, like those specific moments of impact, to cast vision to the non-givers. I thought this was interesting. And he said, I want to challenge, this is the paraphrase statement, but he said, I want to challenge those of you who don't give to start giving, because your giving could have even increased this impact more so. So for example, maybe the context is, for us, we took, I think it was somewhere right around like 30-something kids to camp. So I heard this after, I think it was right around after camp when we went in early June. I wish I would have heard it before, because one of the things that I would have gone back, and what I'll start doing now is I will start telling our church, hey church, for those of you who give, I want to thank you so much. Currently right now we have 30 kids signed up for camp. But I want to challenge some of you guys who don't give, because if you started giving, what if we could take 60 kids if you started giving? So what Chris Hodges will do is he says he doesn't want to let those people who give, who don't give, he doesn't want to let them off the hook. He wants to try to find a way to draw those people in, and his church has done very well in the sense of financial giving. So that's actually something that I'm going to start implementing. So we want to thank those who do give, but we do want to challenge those who don't give, but we want to do it with vision. And then ultimately report back regularly on how resources are used. Transparency builds trust, especially in a young church. And actually, I was talking to Zach about this. I do believe that there are levels to transparency, you guys. Like, how much do we need to detail out of what we're telling our people? I don't know how your church operates with this. Like, how much do they need to know you make and all the staff makes, or whatever? I don't know. Even as a young church, there's still stuff that we're figuring out. We don't have a whole financial department. We just got a financial guy who helps us with all of that, because we can't afford any of that. So, there are some things that even when I was taking some notes from some of you guys were saying was, I think that even Mission City, I think we could even do a better job of communicating periodically throughout the year of transparency. We only do an annual meeting where we'll talk about currently where we are, what the budget is for next year, celebrate stories of life change. I think that was some good advice that I think that even for our church, we could do a better job. Number 5, make giving simple, normal, and clear. Again, I didn't do this the first 2 years. Really wish I would have done it the first 2 years. I think our church could have been further along. Even though I'm grateful for where we are, I think we could have been further along if I would have really just done this part. Make it simple, make it normal, make it clear. Remove every unnecessary barrier. I'm assume this, that maybe for the smaller churches and church plants specifically, if you're not using text to give, if you're not providing clear pathways where you're telling people, we have boxes in the back or pass the buckets, and you can give, and you can, by the way, I'll even say this, church, you can set up recurring giving. Some people don't even know that they can do that. I'll say that, and I'll literally say, that's what me and my family do. When I get paid first thing in the month, my full tithe comes out right there for my family. We just drop it right there in the first paycheck. And I say, hey, we just set up recurring giving, and we just do that. So I encourage the church, just make it simple, make it clear, text to give. We're the technological generation. Just make it easy for people. But do not, listen to this, do not assume they know. Just tell them what you expect. So just make it simple, make it normal, and make it clear. I'm trying to get better at this part, because this next piece is actually ties into number 6, is whenever I find out that there are new givers, Spike, praise God that you're writing handwritten letters. I'm not doing that, but I will send you a text. So what I'm doing is, it's a little easier. I still am a fan of the handwritten notes. I do it periodically, but I'll just pull up my phone and get their phone number and say, hey, even at $25, if it was something small, hey, I saw that you gave for the first time. I want to thank you so much. I have zero idea how that comes across. I don't know if they're like, whoa, he knows, or is it, wow, that's really awesome. Sometimes I get a text back. Sometimes I get a like. Sometimes people will say, oh, thanks so much. And you never really know how it's perceived. I don't know that, but I've started doing that more often. Anyway, this leads to number 6. Know your donors. All right, I get it. There's this somewhat almost sometimes, I've actually heard this, by the way, is that there are sometimes pastors will say it's almost like a virtue signaling. I don't know who the donors are. All right, here's why you can take the meat, chew the meat, spit the bones out in this one. If you agree with me or not, that's fine. But I'm just going to tell you as what I do, okay? I want to know who's giving. Now, if it's affecting my heart, that's a whole thing that I thought they did a good job on, the other pastors. Yeah, if it's affecting your heart and you're only showing favoritism, we already have enough biblical framework to not do those things, okay? But I do think knowing your donors is very important. It's not more virtuous to not know who they are and to not know what they give. Here's just some thoughts that I had. Missionaries, they need to know who gives and they need to know what they give, right? I mean, when they're going to another country, they need to know who is supporting them and how much those people are supporting them. Nonprofit organizations, they need to know who is supporting them and how much they're supporting them. And then for some reason within the church, we step back and we're like, don't know. I have zero idea. Well, then how do you know if that person's going to be a good elder, a lay elder, a good deacon? You should know. And that's just my conviction. And I think it's important that we should know who our donors are. And I also think, without showing favoritism, and I get it's a fine line, I think you should know who your bigger donors are. I actually, Tyler, Chetts Creek pastor now, his previous pastor, Jimmy Scroggins in South Florida, I'll call him periodically and just get some coaching from him and all of that. And Jimmy and I talked, and one time he told me, he said, you need to know who your big donors are. He said, if I could encourage you, he said, make a list of who they are. He said, and then throughout the year, he said, take them out to lunch once, maybe twice. Let them know how grateful you are for them. Let them know about future upcoming stuff that's going on. Let them know how much of an impact they're making. So I didn't do that for whatever reason the first few years. So then when Jimmy told me that several months ago, I actually started implementing that. And I was shocked to just see how some of those givers really thanked me. They were like, thank you so much for taking time and appreciating us. I had no idea that they may have felt unnoticed or that their gift maybe had felt insignificant, and it wasn't, and I wanted to thank them. And people truly, or at least from body language and tone, they seemed to really appreciate that. I am grateful, and I think all of us would attest to this. This is my final statement, then I'll close it out and hand it to Bob. All of us are grateful for every single donor, right? I'm grateful for the person who donates $2, but the reality is, larger donors help us move forward faster. That's just the reality. The people who are giving more and above and beyond, again, not saying showing favoritism, but those people, I think we should know, and we should at a time being able to build a relationship, appreciate those individuals, because those people are truly helping the organization, or in our context, helping our church move forward faster. So there you go. I don't know if it's lunchtime, but here, I'll kick it over to Bob.